challenge. Tell us why.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming here evening. I did bring copies of my book. I reversed cancer 14 years ago. I love to talk about it, so anyone wants to share it, I'd be glad to see it afterwards. Anyway, I'm going to go back on what Mark had said, though. I'm on the other side. I'm a city official, Mayor Timberlake, and we have to run a budget. We applied for OPWC money, and we were a couple grants we didn't get, a couple grants, one grant we did get, and we had to actually refuse it because we couldn't get the backup funding. Because a lot of them, what happens is they put us through, it's almost like a bidding phase. We have to get these points, and they calculate these points basically by all these different qualifications. And then again, you have to have matching funds and so forth. So they put us through this whole rigmarole to get this money. And then again, not everyone who applies it gets the money. So again, it's like, okay, if the money's there, it's grant money, it's supposed to be used for infrastructure, why don't you just distribute it all and give it to us without having to play games? Because again, not everybody gets it. And then it costs money. We're a small village. We have to pay for our engineer to put together a plan and submit all that paperwork, and it takes a lot to do that. You know, luckily we have a councilman who's very bright, and he basically, Ryan Conrad, he puts it together, and he helps put that out. But again, most communities have to pay someone for that, and you're talking someone that does grants over 6 figures. So, you know, they don't make it easy on our end of it. So again, as far as that issue, I mean, I'm going to catch 22. You know, again, those are funds that we rely on for infrastructure, but then again, the way they distribute it, okay, is not fair and equitable. And it gets to the point of where we're at with this property tax issue, okay? Because again, the way they collect the tax is not fair and equitable. And being in the village myself, I just noticed too, because a lot of people say, well, how are we going to pay for the funding if we eliminate property taxes? You know, how are you going to pay for the services in your village? I said, it's very simple. I'll send everybody a bill at the end of the year, just like they send a property tax bill. But guess what? It'll be fair and equitable. Because I have some residents in my village, we only have 310 homes, or 311. We have one resident pays $2,600 a year into Timberlake for services. Now that covers police, fire, EMS, road, snowplow, and so forth. Another resident across the street, okay, there's still 2 people living in both houses, they pay $477 a year into Timberlake. Now, what services are offered different? One, because one's home value is higher. Why? This person actually bought on the lake 50 years ago. Maybe paid under $100,000 for the house. Now they have a value over $800,000. Why? Because again, because this mass appraisal methodology they use, that they're basically doing it to reverse engineer and get the funding mainly to our schools, because again, we've got to follow where the money's going. So when you look at our property tax bill, in my case, 63% goes to Willie Beaslake schools. And then when you look at, okay, where's their money going? Well, 80% of their budget goes to wages and benefits. Okay, now, you look at the wages and benefits. Who's making the money? Ooh, the administrators. And guess what they have? Attorneys working for them, protecting them. And I just heard today, it was for the auditors. They had a meeting at a conference, and they were talking about it. They said, yeah, they went to one of the attorneys at the school board and says, look, you know, you guys are getting all this extra money without the vote of the people. He goes, I don't see a problem. These are the attorneys that, again, they work for the school district. And guess who pays those attorneys? We do. That's another thing. We pay for them to fight us, to contest us on everything. And then they jack up our property values to this mass appraisal methodology, okay, which basically is a scam. Okay, because they have all the data they use is corrupt. Because why? Because they're using a different methodology. They'll take the house that's sold, and what they'll do is they'll subtract the basic building cost to get a residual land value, so they can basically raise all the land values in the neighborhood due to inflation, okay? And this is how they do it. And they back it up by saying, well, this is what the market will bear. And yeah, we don't know unless we sell our home, but then it becomes a tax on unrealized gains. So, and the whole problem I have though with this is it comes down to one thing. We have to release our homes from the government control. They own it. Because as long as they're taxing it, they have control over it. Because again, if we miss 3 consecutive pay cycles, they sell those tax liens to a third party. That third party has to hold them 1 year before he begins foreclosure proceedings. And that's what our system is, so that within 3 years, become homeless. And they take away something that we work our whole life for. I thought I had my dream. You know, I lived in Geauga County in Mayfield Village. For 25 years, they kept upping my tax. It went from $2,000 up to $13,000. And it's like, they taxed me out of my home. I couldn't afford it anymore. I had to move. Then I moved to Timberlake, bought a fixer-upper, major fixer-upper, put all the money I had into it to fix it up. Of course, now they're going to value it up and penalize me for it. And here I thought that, oh, I'm going to get away from it, a big tax of $13,000. Well, we started out at $5,000, now it's up to $10,000, okay, in 7 years. I mean, I can't keep up, and again, it's because of this methodology they use. And then this year, specifically, they increased the values 30% on an average, so that what that would do is that'll bring the majority of the schools under the 20 mil floor, which means they're all going to get these windfalls. And why is it going this way? Because again, who's driving this? The administrators. The administration, let's face it, we got to go where the money is. And they protect themselves. And the attorneys protecting them, the unions protecting them. That's what we're up against. And the thing is, it's unrepairable, unsustainable, but unrepairable too. I mean, how are we going to fix the problem? We know, well, you have control, it's on your property tax, you vote for these levels. Yeah, we voluntarily vote, or no, we get threatened and coerced into vote for them. But anyway, we vote for them. They put the collection on property tax and then penalize us for failure to pay, or for the inability to pay. Again, it's not that we do it on purpose. Some people just can't afford to pay it. And then they're going to lose their house. You know, then people say to me, okay, what are you going to do in your village? Well, that was another thing. Again, we collect the tax, we collect $288,000 a year for property tax. Of that, again, it's based on valuation of the home. So some people, like I said, pay more, some people pay less. But when we get our outside services for fire and EMS, okay, because we have our own police department, the fire and EMS, we subcontract that out through Eastlake. We pay them by population. So it's apples and oranges. So we're paying out by population, but we're collecting it, okay, by valuation. And again, that's not fair and equitable. But I can't raise anybody, and again, we can't raise the taxes because we only get 17% of property tax bill versus 63% going to the schools. So if we try to raise it to get more funding for other services we need for some infrastructure work, we can't because again, the schools are hogging it all. They're taking it all. And then again, when you go to contest it, if you go to contest it and the value's different, large enough, they're going to get their attorneys over there. Now you're fighting against a professional attorney. And again, unless you bring an attorney. And the other thing is this. They say, well, you can turn in an appraisal. Well, now they're taking those appraisals and they're using them against us. Let me give you one example. There was a resident that lived on the lake. His property value was about $450,000 prior to the reappraisals. It came in at $1,019,000. Oh, well, he lives on the lake. Okay, well, yes, he does. But so he went and got a private appraisal, came in at $835,000. So he submitted it. They gave it to them. They honored that price, and they put on his tax bill. They reduced it from $1,019,000 to $835,000. But then what they did is they separated the land from the dwelling. The dwelling last year was in the $300,000 range. They reduced it to $275,000, and they took the land that was at $200,000 and raised it to $575,000. So they reversed it. And again, then what they do is they'll take the square footage of his property, divide how many dollars per square foot, okay, which basically comes out to $800,000 an acre, by the way. And then they have the property next door to us, the CEI plant, valued, it's 120 acres, primed on the lake, valued at $48,000 an acre. What's going on there? And again, someone made a deal back in 2018 and 19 with the power company because that's when their property land value went way down, which means their taxes went way down. I wonder who was governor then or who got something somewhere. I don't know. I'm just starting to look into this. But again, there's too many coincidences. And then what that does is because the power plant is paid less because the valuation is less, that goes back to the residents. And another thing they did to us this year is that they didn't raise the commercial real estate as high as they do the residential real estate, which means then basically they're going to still pay the same amount and the extras, the burden falls on us, the residents again. So all these little tricks that they do and they just manipulate it. And what it comes down to is that we have these school districts submitting budgets, and then now they start out with these cash policies, okay? So they'll submit a budget and say, okay, how many days cash do you have reserved after 5 years if the money stopped coming in? And what they do is they say, well, we need to have, like, in Willoughby East Lake School District, they have, for the first 2 years, it's 90 days cash reserve. For the next 2 years, it's 75 days cash reserve. And for the 5th year, it's 60 days cash reserve. Well, they submitted a budget into the auditor. If the valuations come in at 28% increase, that they're going to have a 52-day reserve. Well, the problem with that is it's 8 days shy of the 60-day reserve cash policy they put in 4 months later. But when they submit that to the auditor has to basically make sure they meet their budgetary needs for that 5-year projection. So the valuations, of course, have to come in over 28%, and coincidentally, they come in at 30%. And Willoughby East Lake is going to get $8.8 million windfall without the vote of the people. My wife was there tonight, basically at the school board meeting, telling them that they didn't have to take this increase because they don't have to accept that increase. They could basically try to trim their budget and work within their means and not put that stress on the community. But they don't care. They were looking at actually their meetings where they can get more money. You mean on the outside millage, on those emergency levies that we just passed? You mean we can't get any more increase on that? That's it, we get what we get? Oh yeah, you get what you get, is that what we voted for? But see, these increases, we don't vote for them. And again, these are the things that they're doing, these tricks they're playing. So I'm gonna have Brian come up, he's gonna talk, or actually, Leonard will come up first, and he's gonna give us the biblical perspective on that. And like I said, then we're gonna go into any questions and answers you have, so.